7 years ago, I was married and expecting a baby when things went horribly wrong. About 10 weeks into my pregnancy, I suffered a loss, returning home from the hospital to find my husband in bed with my sister. They tried to apologize and convince me we could all get over it, but I wanted nothing to do with either of them, and even less so when I found out she'd gotten pregnant. My divorce was finalized quickly because I wanted nothing more from him than the divorce and was willing to leave the marriage with nothing but the clothes on my back. Pretty early, I realized my parents were hoping I would still want to be a part of the baby's life, but I wanted nothing to do with the baby my sister conceived while sleeping with my husband, now ex, as I lay in the hospital losing my own pregnancy. So I refused any contact with my sister and ex. They married and had 2 more children after the one she conceived during my marriage to him. I met my current husband when I distanced myself from my whole family, and he was amazing, and his family was great. We got married 2 years ago, and his family is nothing short of the best. I adore the nieces and nephews I've gained through my marriage to him, and we spent a lot of time together. Around 3 months ago, my sister called me at work using my work phone and told me she needed me and could I please come to her. I hung up the phone and continued about my day. Several hours later, I got a message from my parents saying I needed to be with my sister. A few days later, I got another call and was told my sister had been pregnant. The baby didn't make it, all while her husband was out sleeping with someone else. My parents and sister expected me to rally around her, and I didn't. Now that some time has passed and she lives with my parents, I have been inundated with them saying I should meet her kids, be there for them like I am my husband's nieces and nephews, and I should reconcile with the family. My sister told me how sorry she was again, and that she wanted us to make up. I told the 3 of them that she and her kids were not my problem, and I still wanted nothing to do with them. My parents are furious, and they say I need to forgive her because whatever she did, she's now suffering worse than would ever be deserved, and her kids are innocent and deserve an aunt. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister screwed around and now she's finding out. I'm incredibly sorry that either of you had to go through any of that, both the loss and the cheating. This is karma wrapped in a big bow. I will add that I'm wondering what kind of man sees his wife in the hospital, losing her baby, and thinks it's the perfect time for a hookup. You don't need to forgive her. What she did is unforgivable. Tell your parents to tell her she can deal with it like you did, by going out and finding a decent man to make her life with, if any'll have her, but you're not letting her around you or your new family because you're not her husband, Mart. Then tell your parents that if they don't respect your wish not to have anything to do with her and bother you again, you will completely cut them out of your life for 1 year, to be repeated as necessary. The kids are innocent, but you have no family obligation to them under these circumstances. That's your sister's fault. Don't be mean to them if you come across them randomly in public, of course, but you're fine with deciding any kind of relationship with them is off the table. I'm dying laughing at husband Mart. OP, tell your parents that you can't possibly trust your sister around your new husband because there's no telling what she'd do to get another man. Lord knows how desperate she is, that she has to sleep with, have children with, and marry your ex-husband, and didn't even have the decency to wait until you were done to go licking off your plate. Holy crap, you're right. Sister would chew OP's used gum at this point. A mistress who becomes a wife creates a vacancy. She knew the moral caliber of the man she married. She shouldn't be surprised. I'm not downplaying the horror of a baby loss, nor would I ever wish it upon anyone. It is one of the worst things a human can go through. Sister did not deserve a loss. No one does. I think we should be careful not to suggest pregnancy loss is someone's karma because other people blame themselves, and reading that devastates them. But the sister also has living children. OP does not. The situations are similar but totally different, and OP does not need to do anything for crappy sister and bonus nibblings. That's cruel. OP, for your mental health, please cut these toxic people off. I suspect their motives are not pure in nature, and they likely want to use you. We have 3 kids and struggled a lot with money while they were growing up. My youngest 2 still live with us, but my oldest son, 22, lives with his girlfriend. They've only been dating a few months, so when he said he was moving in, we weren't happy and told him it was a dumb idea and he couldn't afford it and we couldn't help him. Our son told us her student loans paid for the apartment and he's just paying utilities and groceries. He moved in anyway almost a year ago. Things were rough for us and we wouldn't be able to make our mortgage payment for 1 month. We reached out to our son asking us if he could loan us some money. He gave us $1,000 and our daughter gave us $500 and we were able to make the mortgage. I fully intend on paying them both back when able. My son reached out last week and asked if I could pay some of the money back. They're falling short of rent this month. I told him I couldn't at the moment. I told him that's why I thought it was a bad idea. He didn't need to move out. He chose to, even though he couldn't afford it when he could live at home for free. He said forget it, and they borrowed money from his girlfriend's family, who are well off. Now he's not answering phone calls from his father or me, but we literally didn't have the money to give him. You are the idiot. You borrow money from your son for housing when you know you're not able to pay him back, but continue to scold him for his own housing costs? He's short because he loaned you $1,000, not because of what he and his girlfriend are doing. Try saving your money and pay him back. Stop scrolling the internet and get a second job or something, LOL. LMAO, so you crap on your son for making an adult decision and say, "We're not going to help you, dumb idiot," then go begging to him for money, then refuse to pay him back? How did you type this out and not realize you are the idiot? How do you not see the unfortunate irony here? The only reason he couldn't afford rent is that you couldn't afford your mortgage. You need to pay him back. You need to figure out how to pay your bills without your kids. I don't know what you have going on, why you don't have money, but you need to pay your bills and let him pay his. It's not his job to pay your bills. You didn't want him to move out so you could use his money, realizing that if he left, he would take his money with him. Get over the fact that he moved out without your approval. Apologize and pay him back what you owe. Your issue caused his issue. If you hadn't been short, neither would he. Horrific logic. Horrific parenting. Not to worry, you succeeded beautifully at one thing: being wrong. Damn, that was the clearest case of the pot calling the kettle black I've ever heard. My dad has been with Marissa for about 2 years and they just got engaged. I don't have much of a relationship with her as she isn't a pleasant person. I don't know Marissa's birthday and don't see why I would be expected to, but my wedding ended up falling on her birthday. When my dad found out about the date, I could tell he was stressed. He said she has a lot of trauma and he feels so guilty spending her birthday at my wedding. I didn't say much and figured they could work it out. Well, the wedding was last weekend. I'm not sure if Marissa was upset or not. She is very, very stoic, so I don't know, but my dad kept apologizing. When they first arrived, and he came to see me in the bridal room, he brought her for some reason, and as they walked in I could hear him saying sorry and asking if she was okay. Right before the ceremony, he had her on his lap and was whispering, but I could hear it. He was saying he wished she would open her birthday presents, and she was like, "I just don't want to do it today." Then he said what if she opens them and he buys her new ones for the day they celebrate. Then my grandma came over and tried to give her a gift, and he was just so annoying about it. The final straw was during the reception. Marissa was complaining to my grandma about how she hates chocolate cake, the only cake we had, and my dad took her in his arms and asked if she wanted to go out later and get something, and again apologized. I finally snapped and yelled at him that if my wedding was such a burden, take the child he was dating and get the heck out. I mean, because of her actions, there isn't a big age gap. He looked horrified and I was like, well, go. My grandma immediately began to scold me that I was awful, and he paid for the wedding. He asked if I really wanted him to go, and I told him to either shut the heck up about her birthday or go. He stayed, but was cold the rest of the night, and I heard Marissa and my grandma joking about how he should rip up the check he gave me for how I spoke to him. I don't know if I overreacted, as he was just having empathy for his fiancée. Edit: is Marissa in therapy? Has she ever been? Not since some court-mandated thing as a kid. She refuses to go now and says this is how she is and if you don't like it, leave her alone. My dad seems to have picked up some skills to soothe her from, I don't even know, watching people parent babies? Everyone's the idiot here. On the one hand, Dad and Marissa need to build a bridge and get over whatever is going on here. It's your special day, and unless you deliberately placed it on her birthday, which you said was a coincidence, they need to suck it up for one day. But you suck for making a scene about it probably wasn't a great move on your part either. I would have quietly taken my dad aside and said, "Hey, I don't appreciate this on my wedding day." Give him a chance to apologize to you and maybe salvage the day by being mindful of how he's acting. Also, Grandma can butt out. I'm sorry, but you are the idiot for what you said to him. It was rude and unnecessary. Everyone else could see what you saw and draw their own conclusions about his idiotic behavior. You didn't need to tell him to shut up or go. You then brought negative attention to yourself. How does no one realize that Marissa is a grown adult who shouldn't come to the wedding if the day bothers her? Also, according to OP, she's refusing therapy and is saying that people need to accept her as she is. Who does that? She clearly has issues and is inconveniencing people around her without regard for others. Sitting on the bride's father's lap during a wedding, regardless of who they are to you, is inappropriate. You can't tell me that her trauma doesn't let her sit beside him like any other person, right? What grown, mature adult gets this bent out of shape over a birthday? The dad suggested opening her presents, then getting new ones to open on the day they do get to celebrate. Seriously? How old is this woman? Like, holy crap, Marissa needs help at her grown age if she has birthday trauma. Like, get a grip. It's your partner's child's wedding. Look, I've been to a wedding on my birthday, but I also know my birthday comes once a year, every year, until the day I die. I was able to make it through the entire day without needing to mention it was my birthday while I was at the wedding. Afterward, my fiancé had an amazing evening planned for me as a surprise. People need to get over themselves. I get you want to celebrate the day you entered the world, but if you can't put your princess prerogative aside for one flipping day, then stay home and send well wishes to the couple. Don't show up and then make their wedding about you not getting the attention you think you're entitled to. The world doesn't revolve around you. We usually do intermittent fasting, meaning we don't eat after 5 p.m, but when I'm on my period, my appetite gets several times bigger. Last night I craved a chicken sandwich with chili and I asked my mother-in-law whether she wanted any. She said no, she wasn't hungry, and since my husband didn't eat then, I only made one. I quickly gobbled it up, and when my mother-in-law came into the kitchen again, the plate was already wiped clean. She asked me in shock, "You're done that fast?" I was pretty embarrassed and told her it was my favourite. Then she said, "You didn't think to at least offer people staying in the house with you a bite?" I was confused and told her, "But you said you weren't hungry and Jake, my husband, doesn't eat at this hour." She said, "You didn't think to store some in the fridge in case I do get hungry?" I told her I was sorry, I really didn't think that far ahead. I'll make a new one. But then I remembered that we were all out of chili and sheepishly told her I would go buy some. She told me not to bother, but I insisted. But even after looking at several convenience stores, I couldn't find the brand I was looking for, and since it was nearly midnight by then, I didn't have many options. So I called Jake and asked him what I should do, and he told me just to get one from a snack near us. When I got home, though, and brought it to my mother-in-law, she refused to eat it and said I told you to forget it. I don't eat takeout. She insisted that she didn't want it, nor did she want anything else as she wasn't hungry, that she'd just smelled the chili earlier and wanted a bite. I told her, "Okay, if you need anything, let me know." I went back to the kitchen and ate that sandwich too. The next day, Jake and I woke up to find my mother-in-law gone, with a text sent to my husband that said she won't be putting her foot in our house ever again for the amount of disrespect I showed her. Apparently, she did get hungry later and went looking for the sandwich and couldn't find it. Jake was livid that I ate that one too and told me this was my fault and I should go with him to apologize to her. I got angry too and asked him why couldn't she have just asked directly instead of going around all these circles in the first place. He ignored me and grabbed his jacket and keys and left. Am I really in the wrong here? Not the idiot. If someone tells you they don't want any, they don't want any. Words mean things. I don't eat takeout does not mean save it for me later. I'm so proud of you for accidentally outing this woman's manipulative behavior. Chaotic good. I picture everyone in this house sneaking back into the kitchen to eat random food and the next person being so sad that it's gone. To be clear, you went far beyond by trying to replicate the chicken chili sandwich the first time. That was far more than required by standards of kindness. You asked and she declined. Twice. Girl, she's setting you up at that point, but you ate right through her plan. I love it. What the holy heck did I just read? The topper is that your husband thinks you did something wrong. Forget mother-in-law, you've got a husband problem. I can't believe he was okay with you running around at midnight for his mom. OP, Please, have a long hard look at your relationship with your husband. Let's look past the obvious here. The fact that you felt the need to make her a sandwich after she refused is weird. The fact that you then went out to try to buy ingredients to make one, despite her saying she doesn't want one, is concerning. The fact that you then had to call your husband to figure out what to do when you didn't find the exact ingredient is deeply troubling. It all gives the impression that you're almost manically afraid of somehow slighting her. Jake and his mother, after all this, feeling that the problem is you didn't do enough, is completely insane, and gives us a hint where that fear is coming from. There is a much deeper problem there somewhere. This could be a you issue, but that last part points to the problem not being you at all. Please Google cycle of abuse and assess if you recognize a pattern. Glad someone else is acknowledging how weird this all is. The way OP speaks about her mother-in-law, you'd think she was a lowly servant to a tyrannical princess or something. Like, I thought the moment mother-in-law started sulking after OP failed to read her mind would be the end of it. But bending over backward to wait on her hand and foot? Really? What's actually going on here? I'm curious about the ages and living situation here because there's obviously more to these dynamics than this one incident. My brother-in-law lives right next door to us, so he can access our house and we can access his through the back as there's no fence separating them. My son is a preschooler and goes to his house to say hello or to call him for lunch and dinner every day. The only time he doesn't go is if my brother-in-law is already at ours. His fiancée moved in a few weeks ago. Things have continued as normal as my brother-in-law hasn't asked us to stop letting our son go to his, nor has he given us any indication he's no longer okay with it. However, his fiancée told me to stop letting my son go to their house without asking first. I asked if she'd spoken to my brother-in-law about it since he was the one who originally started encouraging my son to do this, but she said she hadn't. I told her I thought it was best if she spoke to him about it first, as I didn't want my brother-in-law to think I was trying to stop him from spending time with my son. She told me she didn't need to speak to him first, and I should respect her rules and keep my son out of their home. I told her I would only do it if my brother-in-law asked me to, so she's angry at me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, since you say that your brother-in-law has always encouraged it, and this isn't just you allowing your child to intrude on their household. But if I were you, I keep in mind that his fiancée is now looking for a reason and a way to stop this, and that she has every incentive to make sure that your son accidentally sees something that he shouldn't when he shows up unannounced. So it may be worth rethinking the situation anyway. Disagree. Everyone's the idiot here. His situation has changed and he is not the only one living there. OP, you don't get to dismiss her wishes simply because they aren't yours. Brother-in-law sucks because when moving in together, everything needs to be discussed. Seeing as your families are close, how is this not brought up? If this was going to be an issue, it should have been dealt with before moving in together. The only one who doesn't suck is the kid. Sorry, the child is definitely the idiot in this case. You are the idiot, OP. If his fiancée has moved in, that makes it her home too. You need her permission as well, not just your brother-in-law's. I know that's an adjustment. She's adjusting too. And there might be plenty of reasons why a couple might not want an unsupervised toddler roaming around their home. OP, do you really want your son to bust in on them? Or what about the fiancé's right to walk around naked in her own home? Maybe she has breakable items she's worried he'll touch. Maybe she's worried he'll get hurt and no one will know. There are dozens of reasons for her to ask this. You must respect her decision on what to do in her home.